Welcome back to Retirement Unplugged, where I've got a friend of mine here, Travis Smith, who is in the construction world. So thought we'd talk a little bit about what he does, what he don't do, who he tells what to do, whatever. Poor old Jeff. We won't talk about Jeff. But anyway, we don't talk about Jeff. No. But anyway,
his health is bad. So
yeah, that's
we'll
right.
leave him out of it.
So Travis builds houses, apartments, but that's what you do now. But how did you actually get your start into the construction business?
I think I kind of just pretty much fell into it. So, I got out of high school and went to college for a little bit. Just kind of wasn't my cup of tea, I guess.
Yeah.
And the church that we were going to, that my dad preached at, we had several guys in the church that were in the construction field. Mm-hmm. And so I had started with a place over in Huntsville area. It was engineered maintenance service. As a matter of fact, your neighbor, Dwayne Hughes, that's how I met Dwayne. He used to go to church with us, and he was working at a place over there called engineered maintenance service. And they had a lot of different crews. They did pipe fitting. They did, carpentry work and whatever. I don't remember what all it was. It's been 35 years ago. But anyway, I got hired into the carpentry crew, and I only worked there just a couple months. And then one weekend, I get a phone call from Dwayne, and he said, "Man, we was all let go." I said, "What do you mean we was all let go?" He said, "They did away with the carpentry crew." And I said, "Well, all right." So that was on a Saturday. So Sunday at church, we had a painter in our church. And so I talked to him and got a job and started painting for him. Well, I ended up getting a call from the engineered maintenance service, and yes, they had did away with it, but they were going to move me into another crew, a pipe fitting crew or something like that. So I said, well, I already got another job. I was 18, 19 years old, whatever.
Right.
And I was making 50 cents an hour more, going to paint.
Oh boy. So, I hate painting. Dude.
Oh yeah. You couldn't pay me enough money to paint anymore.
Yeah.
So then worked for him for a little bit. And one Friday he didn't have my check. So then I worked the next week, and that Friday I called him up and I said, "Hey, you got, I worked 2 weeks and he owed me 2 checks. And so Monday I called him up and I said, "Hey, you got my checks?" He said, "No." He said, "I ain't got paid yet." On the phone, I went back to bed.
That's right.
So all of that happened within just a couple months, of me graduating from high school. Another guy in our church had a very successful tile company at the time in Decatur, R&W Tile. I went to work for him in October of 1991 and worked for him for several years. Started my own business in the tile company. So by trade, I'm a tile guy.
So that's where I don't know why I thought that, but for some reason I thought that's where you got your start, was laying tile.
Yeah, that was the biggest part of it. Even growing up as a kid, we did some hands-on stuff with woodworking and carpentry. I knew how to do a few odds and end things because that's just way our generation was kind of raised. You figure it out.
Sure.
Whatever.
Oh yeah.
And so I knew how to do a little bit of stuff, and so I started out laying tile, or started as a helper, obviously, with him. And within just a few months, he actually had me out on the job laying tile. So at 19, 20 years old, I had my own tile helper, and worked for him for a few years. And then me and another buddy that was working there, I actually tried to go out on our own. But at 20 years old, we had customers who actually didn't think we knew what we were doing.
Well, let me ask you this. When you're 20 years old and you're just getting started doing tile, do you have to have a general contractor's license?
No.
Okay.
And you don't have, so in the state of Alabama, and I'm sure other states are the same way, there's a difference. You can have, there's a general contractor's license, which most people think of a builder as being a general contractor.
Yeah.
And by definition, a general contractor, at least in the state of Alabama, that's typically going to be more along the lines of commercial type work. And so I don't even have a general contractor's license. I have an Alabama home builder's license now.
Okay. Gotcha.
So that's what I have now. So, I laid tile for a number of years, 20 some odd years, I guess, until and then I ended up going to work for another guy, trimming houses. Mm-hmm. So we did that for a long time. And, fast forward, and I cut my fingers off, and I decided it was time to go back to college. I was done with construction. And so Went back to school to get an engineering degree in electronics. I got a job over at Wiley Laboratories over in Madison. Worked there for a couple years and was kind of working a second-ish, third-ish shift type deal, I think, there for a little while. And slowly I was picking up little tile jobs on the side. And next thing you know, I was making more money working 2 days a week on the side than I was working 40 hours a week over there. And so that was the last full-time job I've ever had, really, for the most part.
Yeah.
And so we got, I got back into the tile business again, and then we just kind of expanded and I guess about 20 years ago started building houses and that kind of thing in the early 2000s. So
Okay. How many houses you think you built up to this point?
Well, back in 2005, 6, 7, 8 range, I guess, we were averaging a house a month then. So at that time,
you were in complete charge of that, right? I mean, that was your crews. You running.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
Yeah. So I was the home builder on it. At one time, we had 16 houses going at one time. Now,
Wow.
During that period, there were not any tract home builders. There was no Davison Homes in Morgan County.
So, what's the definition of a tract home? You talking about like when they go into these neighborhoods and they're all you got 3 or 4 different choices to choose from.
That's right. These massive companies that are pumping out. I mean, you have some of these companies. Can't even think of some of the names of them, but you've got some of these companies that are building across the country thousands of houses every year.
Yeah.
Every year. And so it just depends on where they're at. That we have right now builders in Morgan County that are building houses in Texas and building houses in California and those type things. And so, but at that time, and there were some in Huntsville, but there were none in Morgan County. So 2006, 7, 8, I was the biggest builder in Morgan County. I had the most houses going. We were, like I say, we were averaging building and selling. I was not building a house in 1 month time.
Sure.
But we were averaging, I think, 3 to 4 months to build a house. We were turning them over. I was selling them faster than I could build them. And
that's when it was booming until about
that's
2008.
In 2008, the light switch went off. I had started a house in December of 2007. I started another house. I think it was January, February of 2008. And, light switch went off and people just quit buying.
Yeah.
And so one of those houses I sold and I broke even on it, and I was still holding one of the houses, and I got an offer on the house, and best I remember, I think it was going to be a $16,000 beating I was going to take on it. So I went to my lender. I said, "Hey, we just got to stop the bleeding," and they agreed. He said, "Well, what do you propose?" I said, "We're going to sell the house," and I said, "I'll just take out a loan with you, and I'll pay you back the rest of the money." So we did. So out of all of that, we made money building houses up to that point, and then I lost a little bit of money on that, and then took out a note and I paid them back.
Sure.
And so
that 2008 was rough on everybody.
It was rough on everybody.
I was in the steel industry, if you remember, and man, it was rough on us.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, it didn't really matter the industry is in. I don't think.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So it was rough there for a few years, and we were able to muscle through it, I guess. I got lucky that I had colleagues in the business that it bankrupted them, so I was fortunate enough that it didn't bankrupt me. But we were pinching pennies.
Man, yeah, I think everybody was.
Oh, sure.
Like you said, I don't care what industry you was in, everybody's pinching pennies.
No. So and like I say, from there, it's just I kind of after that happened at that point, we were doing so much. I was kind of in the middle of where my company was too big to be considered small, but I was still too small to be considered big. So I was still the person doing everything. I didn't have managers. I didn't have office personnel, and it was running me to death. And so I either needed to get bigger by building a whole lot more houses, or I needed to get way smaller. And we went way smaller. I went from 16 houses at a time to 1, 2 at a time at best. And even that was a couple of years after all that settled down. We were just doing whatever come along to get through, renovations,
I was gonna say, 'cause-
additions, whatever.
Yeah, you did more than just build houses. I mean,
that's
y'all-
right. Yeah,
y'all
we
flipped
did
houses.
That's right.
Just did work
Yeah.
on homes for people, built shops. You did all kinds of
That's
things,
right.
right?
Yep. So we've done that for years, and I'm to the point now where I typically I don't have any customers anymore, so we just generate our own work. I got into the real estate world back several years ago. We had at one time 27 I think rentals right here in town, and then when the economy got back up a few years ago, we sold everything, and so now what we're doing is because I'm a builder, I can build certain rental properties cheaper than I can buy them.
Yeah.
So we're
right.
just generating our own stuff now.
Yeah, which, I mean, it seems like if I remember over the years, I mean, you've dabbled in quite a bit of stuff other than just building houses. I mean, like you said, you had your rentals, and I remember when you sold your rentals, you're like, hey, I'm gonna buy some stuff in the mountains just to
Yep.
see what I can make. And I think you had a couple there, right? You
Oh yeah,
made some pretty good money on.
Yep, I had some Airbnbs in the Smoky Mountain area. My wife, she painted there for a long time, had to have neck surgery, and so we ended up opening a store for her. I think one of the things that really helped me get through the bad times was we were able to get some contracts over on the Arsenal. And so,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
yeah. So no matter how bad the economy is, the government's still spending money.
Yeah, I know.
So I think that was probably my saving grace that got us through that 2008 to whatever year it was when things finally started picking up, was the fact that we were able to pick up a lot of work there on the Arsenal.
Yeah.
And that helped us out. And so, we started a business for my wife where she was selling knick-knack crap, whatever. Did that for a while and got into the antique business for a little while. And then, of course, we opened the restaurant. And the restaurant was very good. We owning a mom and pop restaurant is a lot of work.
It's a lot of your time.
It's a lot of time.
Yeah.
It's a lot of time. And, not to mention all the other businesses that I had going at the same time. And quite honestly, I can 99% confidently say that if it weren't for us adopting Rayetta, that we'd probably still have the restaurant. But taking her in at 10 months old, we realized real quickly that she was more important than that restaurant was.
Well, sure. And maybe some people understand, but when you have a restaurant, and it was the first bar and grill on Main Street in Hartselle whenever Hartselle went wet.
That's right.
And which is a big deal.
Oh,
right?
sure. And I helped that I've been a part of this community for decades. So we knew a lot of people and we had a lot of support, so that helped out. But yeah, we popped the first thing into this town.
Yeah, but it doesn't change the fact of what kind of time it takes. What I was getting at was the time the amount of time at night.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, late nights,
Yeah.
and to have a young child in the home again makes it difficult.
Yep,
but,
that's exactly right.
yeah. So, anyways, but so I mean, you've been pretty busy, and I think you're still building apartments now, right?
Yeah. So we got we've got 5 duplexes that we're working on right now, and I've got heavy equipment over on another piece of property that we're clearing and getting roads put in and everything as we speak. And we'll be working on that over the next couple of years. It looks like, and then hopefully I'll be about done. I hope. That's the goal.
You always say that, but
That's the goal.
Back up for just a second. The Arsenal. A lot of people that aren't from this area probably don't understand the amount of work that goes in over at the Arsenal, amount of money that's spent, government contracts, things like that. I mean, there's a lot happening over there.
Oh, absolutely. And I obviously I've never been on any other military base that I can think of.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of them across the country are doing the same
Sure.
things.
Yeah.
But one of the things that's unique, I believe, about Huntsville and Redstone Arsenal is they actually have more civilians that work on base than military personnel.
Yeah. For government contracting.
For government contracting, because it's a huge aerospace. Huntsville's aerospace engineering and a lot of the defense stuff is based out of Huntsville.
And I just saw somewhere, I think Trump is they're going to move some other stuff to Huntsville.
That's right. FBI
Yeah.
has had for years a huge presence over there, and I think they're increasing some of that.
I think I read where by the time the FBI are done with their move and what all, it's like 4,000 people.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like
it's big.
4,000 people.
And so and I think while our area was affected by the 2008 downturn, and even the latest downturn of some housing has slowed down a little bit here recently, but even with those downturns, because of us being in such close proximity to Huntsville, we didn't feel it as bad in our area as some parts of the country may have felt that, because for a number of years Hartselle has been ranked, depending on the publication you look at, anywhere from number 1 to number 5 city to live in the United States.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's pretty significant.
Well, and it's funny because you mentioned, you say that, but it's like if it's not Hartselle, it's another town close.
That's right.
Like Athens.
That's right.
Athens is listed.
That's right.
It's big.
Yeah.
And continuing to get bigger.
That's right.
I don't know when the last time you went to Athens it was, but it's crazy.
Oh, sure. It's I could easily see Athens becoming at one point, there was a definite separation between Huntsville and Madison.
Oh, yeah.
And now
Yeah.
there's not. And I could see it that extending over into that area.
Yeah, then
And the
it'll be
same thing-
Madison to Athens.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And so if you are within a normal driving distance of Huntsville for work, half hour, 45 minutes, or whatever else, any of these surrounding communities, even going the other way towards Scottsboro and those type things, I think that's you're in a good place, when you're in close proximity to that.
So what does it take? You mentioned working. You worked for an amount of time on the arsenal, and it takes a little bit to be able to get on site there, right?
Oh,
Work-wise.
That's right. There was tons and tons of background checks and those type things. And,
For employees, everybody that's on your crew, right?
oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, even like my subs. So I've never had a lot of full-time employees. I had a lot of subs, and those subs have employees and so on and so forth. And so every single person who I tried to get on out there, has to go through extensive background checks.
Yeah.
And so, I had a roofing crew. I remember back years ago, we were doing some roofing, obviously on some job or another. And one of the guys on his crew had a bench warrant from nearly 30 years ago that he never even knew about from a bar fight he got in California.
Oh boy.
And so anyway, they found that bench warrant, and he was a negative. You ain't coming on this arsenal.
Really?
No. Yeah. Bench warrant he never even knew he had.
Wow. Wow.
From 30 years.
Yeah, I knew there was quite a bit that went into getting on that arsenal. Insurance. What's the insurance? Just
Yeah, I mean, my company carries, a standard $1 million policy anyway. So, for the most part, that covered most things we were doing. Depending on some of the projects, we would have to get some different things. But, we did some housing out there, and then of course, contradicting what I said a little bit earlier, we actually did a lot of commercial work out there. So in the state of Alabama, as I said earlier, you have to have a general contractor's license to do commercial work. Unless, of course, you're working on something like the arsenal.
That's your government project.
Yeah, if it's a government project, they don't care. So long
Imagine that.
And this is actually, you don't need a license at all to do anything out on the arsenal.
Really?
No, you don't have to have a license for anything. There are guys out there, or have been. Now, it's been years since I've been out there, but I could have taken at the time, I think Sawyer, my youngest son, and at the time was probably 14 years old, let's say, give or take 15. I could have taken him out there and let him do $1 million worth of electrical work that he had no clue what it was. If it passed their inspection, they didn't care.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, they have,
Okay.
the arsenal has, so what the arsenal did, and I'm sure that there are, that other facilities do the same type thing. They hire a let's call it a lead contractor to handle all of the construction that happens on the project, on the arsenal. And then that company, they don't actually have people who work. They just handle all the construction that goes on. So they would find people like me and other individuals that do the same type thing. So they would contract us to do the actual labor, and then they would inspect our work, and then of course after they would inspect it, the government officials would come in and they would inspect, and then they'd sign off on it. So there's lots of inspections that go on, a whole lot more than you get on the outside world, but they didn't care what you was licensed to do.
Wow.
So
That seems crazy, doesn't it?
oh yeah.
I mean,
So
you'd think the stipulations over there would be more than what they are outside. But anyways,
that's what you'd think.
yeah, and
They make their own rules.
well, that's what I was saying. And we won't get into what kind of money spent over there on nonsense.
no.
That's just,
No.
that's just insanity.
We could spend a month worth of podcast on government waste.
Oh yeah, wow.
Just on one facility.
That's what I was just fixing to say, on one place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody, and I've said this time and time again. I think everybody with even a pea-sized brain in their head understands that government wastes money, but until you are face to face with it and see exactly what's going on, I mean, I was in the thick of it.
Yeah.
Most people have no clue.
Yeah,
No
I mean,
clue.
we said and we hear about it, on these on some of these. You might read about it in an article, or you might see it on YouTube. But some of the things that you've told me, I was just like, oh my gosh, it's just unbelievable.
Oh, it's absurd. It's absurd.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
No.
But anyways, that's for another day.
That's right.
Yeah. So projects you got going on right now, you'll finish this up. You'll finish your apartments up, or your duplex.
Yep.
What'd you say, 5 of them?
Yeah, I've got 5 of those going.
And then what are you putting in over there on the other side of town? What's going in? Is it apartments or is it duplex? What is that?
Everything I've got going now is duplexes. We're not really building apartments per se. More of a single-story condo type deal, I guess, what you might call it. A little bit higher end.
Yeah.
So in Hartselle, there's not a lot of nicer rentals. Not a lot. There are several, but there is still a need for some, I think, in my opinion, anyway.
Well, what's funny about Hartselle is that I've noticed, or I found out along the way, is a lot of their apartment style stuff is for a lower rent, to fit into a program.
Yeah, that's right. 8N, I think, is what it's called.
I couldn't remember what it's called.
I believe it's called 8N. If you're 8N certified, maybe it's 8A. 8A. I think it's 8A. Whatever it is. Anyway, it's based off income.
Yeah. So, other than that, there's nothing available.
Not a lot
for a common, or
That's right.
You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So it's and listen, here's what I have come to the conclusion of in my 30 plus years of being involved in one way or another with real estate is everybody needs a place to live.
Yeah.
And no matter how much money you make, there's still plenty of people out there who just can't or won't go buy a house. Mm-hmm. So rentals is my opinion, is a no-brainer. If you got rentals, you always got income.
Yeah. Mailbox money.
Mailbox money.
Yeah. That's what I like to call it.
It's a goal.
Yeah, I mean,
that's my retirement. I didn't, I've invested a little bit of money along the way, but I didn't have a 401k like you did. And that's great.
Yeah.
And I chose that lifestyle. So, I've tried to figure out ways of being able, nobody wants to work till the day they die. So, I've done what I could to try to figure out ways to invest money and put money in places that, whether or not I ever fully retire, who knows the answer to that?
Yeah.
I'm liable to work till lunch on the day they bury me. So,
that's what something I've always said, like guys that are in your, that work in the construction business, or, in my opinion, just like you said, people always need homes. There's always somebody that needs a place to live, whether it's apartment, a home, whatever it is. And that never goes away.
Nope.
But the thing with you guys are, if you say, hey, I'm retiring today, and then something goes south, you can pick up almost right back where you left off.
Oh, sure. And the good thing is, you know, and I guess I'm close to living proof of that now. You know, I know of a builder. You know, I used to work for him back decades ago. He's 80 some years old, still building houses. Now, he ain't lifting a finger, you know, and I don't do a whole lot of physical labor much anymore.
Yeah, I know.
You know, I get kind of, you know, I've gotten lazy in my older age.
Well, that's all right.
But, you know, he's 80 years old. He's, you know, 80 something years old. He's 30 years older than me, still building houses. And he's been talking about retiring for the last 25 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, he picks up a project here or there. He's not going wide open, but, you know, he's still doing it.
Well, I've always said, you know, the good thing, like you're talking about, or we're sitting there talking about, is you can work on your own stuff too.
That's it.
Where you don't have to hire out someone and get charged double for doing something.
That's right. Yeah, and you know, it's because of what we do and how we do it. You know, there will be times, you know, the housing market fluctuates. It goes up, it goes down. You can look at it since they've been recording it. It's up and down, it's up and down, it's up and down. And so there will be another downtime again sooner or later. And, you know, that's when I typically will go in and I'll buy houses that need to be flipped or something like that. And the good thing about buying a house that needs to be flipped is I can buy a house and I'm not on a time constraint for someone to finish it up.
Yeah.
So I do it at my leisure. You know, here again, that's the goal. Doing the type things I want to do and not have to worry about somebody breathing down my neck to hurry up and get done.
Yeah. I mean, sad thing today is you can't find a house to flip, really. I mean, you really look around and there's money wise, there's the cost of some of these homes today. It's like, man, how do you make a profit off of it?
It's much more difficult right now. It is. It's you know, compared to what it was even, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
But sooner or later that'll change again.
Oh yeah,
and it's not necessarily that the prices of housing is going to go down to what they were 8-10 years ago, but the housing market will drastically reduce from a point wherever it is, and that's when you get into it.
Well, these interest rates now.
That's right. Now, here, you know,
or put a damper on some people.
It is, and you know, I had this conversation with someone not too long ago. You and I are old enough. We didn't necessarily borrow money in the early 80s, but we're old enough to remember that in the early 80s, interest rates, if you had perfect credit, were just ridiculous. I mean, we're talking high teens.
Oh yeah,
in certain sense. And so what has happened now is a lot of home buyers are a younger generation, and all they are familiar with is 2% interest rates.
Yeah.
And so when you had 2% interest rates just a few years ago, and now they're at 6.5%, you know, that seems outrageous. But if you'll look at the average over the last 50 years, the average is over 7%.
That's right.
And so, you know, 6-7% is not great, but it's certainly not bad.
I fall into that category too, because since I've been, you know, old enough to get married, start buying homes, my interest rates I've been very fortunate.
Well, sure.
I can remember my dad saying, you know, back in the early 70s, he's like, man, we didn't know where money was even coming from.
Oh, that's right. That's exactly
interest
right.
rates, like you said, was 13, 14, 15%.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not even sure how I'm going to make a $90 house payment.
Yeah.
Wasn't no money to be found. But then you fast forward to today when you've got these kids that expect to buy a home that's $300,000 or $400,000 as their first home.
That's right.
Yeah, they just don't get it.
No, they don't. Yeah, I mean, it's
that's crazy.
That's a whole nother month worth of podcast what some of the younger generation believes life is supposed to be like.
I know. You're right. But it's crazy. So it doesn't help matters in the housing market.
No, it don't. So that's why, you know, I don't build many houses anymore. Not that I'm putting up for sale.
You just built a couple.
I built a couple
spec houses.
That's right. We got one up pretty quick, and then you know, I've got one right now that luckily we finally got a contract on, and it actually sat a little bit longer than I wanted, and I had to sit on it for, you know, a month and a half.
Yeah,
it's longer than I want, but you know, a month and a half ain't bad.
Grand scheme of things, that's not bad.
That's not bad. So we've got a contract on that one right now, and that's all the houses I'm going to build. I will. Unless times get bad, I'll probably never build a custom house for anyone again.
Yeah.
You know, there's a handful of people I would for, people that I know personally, but, someone call me up that I don't know and say, "Hey, we want you to build a house for us," answer is probably no.
Yeah.
So I just don't have the interest in that.
Well,
so
That's
not my
interesting.
forte anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I don't like people anymore.
well, it happens.
You're one of the few.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. Yeah. And that just depends on what day of the week it is.
That's right. That's
So-
right.
Okay. Well, let's switch gears a little bit.
All right.
I know, you like to hunt. I like to hunt.
Yep.
I don't hunt as much as I used to. I'll just say that out loud.
And I hunt a whole lot more than I used to.
Yeah. Yeah. You've kind of dove deeper into it. It seems like so. You do a lot of hunting in Illinois, and just got back from a hunting trip in Idaho for a couple of weeks.
Yep.
But I'm getting ready to go to Montana. Beginning of November for an elk hunt, and that's where you just came back from.
That's right.
So how was that experience? Because I know leading up to these things, we always believe one thing, and then it's not really 100% what we thought.
That's right. It's anyone who's been in the hunting industry, whatever. Now, I'm not in the industry, but has been a hunter for any length of time, has heard people say something along the lines of, "It's not about the kill; it's about the hunt."
Yeah. Wait a minute.
And to a certain degree, all right,
fixing to say.
but to a certain, but the reason you hunt is to kill something.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, I've been hunting in Illinois for several years, and I've got buddies who go up there and hunt, and we have a great time, even if someone did not kill something today or
Yeah.
this week or whatever it is. And that's always, we always have a good time because we get together in the evenings, we eat supper together, we chit chat, we tell lies, we tell whatever, stories
Yeah.
about this, that, and the other. And so it is a good time, but ultimately we're there to kill a big deer. That's
Sure.
what we're there for. And so, but I don't think I really ever understood it as much as I do today after this trip out west.
Uh-huh.
So, I've got several buddies that I've tried for years to get to go on an antelope hunt for me. Why antelope has always intrigued me, I don't have a clue. But none of my buddies, including you, really ever had much interest in it.
No, and I'll tell you, my dad, he's gone, and he's like, yeah, shoot, you can shoot them from the road with a rifle.
You can, but I chose to do a bow hunt.
It's just almost impossible.
So I have a never dreamt of respect for that animal after a week of chasing that son of a gun with a bow.
That's because he made you lose sleep.
Oh, goodness gracious. It was probably, I think I can honestly say it was probably one of the most fun hunts I've ever been on. And I've been to Canada bear hunting, which was a fun hunt. And I love to deer hunt. I think that's probably my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
But, I've gotten more interested in being able to go on some of these other hunts, game that's not in our area. Mm-hmm. And so, it was very demanding. I tried to get in a little bit better shape, and you don't realize how poor a shape you are in.
Well.
And I don't know that even if I had stuck with it, even more than I thought I should stick with it, I still think it would have wore me slap out. But I mean, we hiked and we hiked and we hiked, and Idaho mountains are just grueling. They're grueling. Any of those mountains in the Rockies
Look
are
here,
grueling.
if you don't have cardio,
That's it.
dude, it's gonna be, and I'm gonna be in the same situation.
And you're a whole lot better shape than me.
But I'm not a cardio guy.
Yeah, you're still a lot better shape
Yeah,
than me. You're
I
gonna,
know,
yeah,
but I mean,
Heath, our buddy Heath, asked me. He said, "So, we were talking. I think I was maybe on my way back or whatever. I was talking to him while I was out there, and he said, now that you've been out there a week and a half, if you're going to go back again, he said, what would you tell someone they need to work on?" I said, cardio.
Yeah.
Cardio. I said, when you're done with that, do some cardio.
Yeah. He told me, we talked, and I was like, he didn't tell you. I said, Travis didn't tell you about them 5 sleeves of Peeps that he packed.
Yeah, no,
You can't eat them bad boys out there. No.
Listen, it was and a lot of people. especially some of the younger generation, that they would not be able to. A lot of people would not be able or would not be willing to do what I did because it's not so much just that you're hiking. I had no TV for 2 weeks. There's no TV at that place. We did backcountry hiking. There's no cell service, which means there's no YouTube, there's no Facebook, no Twitter, there's no nothing. You're there to hunt, sleep, and eat.
See, and I think that's great.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it.
I mean, that's got to be peaceful.
On a couple occasions, I could send a text message. I sent you some text messages when I would have satellite service. Some of these new iPhones have the satellite service, and every now and again I could get into service and make a couple phone calls. But I was out there for 13 days hunting and with very little social media and no TV. So. And it didn't bother me a bit.
Man, it wouldn't me either. I'm looking forward to it, actually.
I made it just fine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so what I know you said cardio was pretty grueling, but, I mean, what about the hunt was exciting?
I guess and by no means am I downing someone who does a gun hunt. I know you're going on a gun hunt. And that's there. I've shot animals with guns. For me, what I enjoy so much about bow hunting is much more demanding, but the reward for me in the end is just that much greater.
Yeah. Oh, so, I can see that. I mean,
and there's lots of people out there who physically can't bow hunt anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
So there, there's no. Nothing against gun hunters at all. Like I say, I've got guns.
The other thing too is there's a lot of people. You may bow hunt. There's a lot of folks that can't pull a bow back that crossbow, but crossbows are illegal out there for elk hunting.
That's changing.
Oh, it is going to change.
Yeah, I think it
for
already
Idaho?
did. I think it already did. I think
this
year.
Okay, I know in Montana you still can't.
Yeah, I think it actually changed. I think it changed this year because that was a topic of conversation out there.
Yeah.
We were talking about, and they said, they finally legalized crossbows for anyone.
Okay.
So
I looked it up
in Idaho.
Yeah, so I looked it up for Montana. Not that I want to do it in Montana. I'm had my heart set on a gun hunt.
Sure,
that's what I wanted to do. But anyways. Well, go ahead. I threw that out there because some people physically can't.
That's right.
And then there was a problem with not being able to crossbow. But it sounds like it's changing.
And there was a lot of things. And forget the bow or the gun for a moment. There's lots of people that don't have the physical capabilities to do what I do.
Yeah.
I was there for 13 days and miraculously, without a heart attack or another stroke or anything else, I hiked over 70 miles.
Yeah.
That was in itself to me was rewarding. I was able to hike, camp, and do everything else, in the wilderness, and it didn't affect me. Yeah, I got tired a little bit and hurt a little bit here or there, but you rest a little bit and you're good to go again.
Sure.
So,
I mean, it's kind of one of those things where you don't have a choice. You're there.
That's it.
You spent the money, and I'm doing it.
That's it.
I don't care how I feel.
That's it. So it was a rewarding hunt. The antelope, the closest I got was 107 yards. I let arrow fly, and man, them little bastards are fast.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that arrow didn't get halfway there, and it was gone.
He was gone. He probably heard it leave the string.
Probably. So, and then on the elk, I actually had I enjoyed the elk hunt, and I'm looking forward to going back for both of those animals. Probably will not do both again at the same time. That's just a long way to be away from home.
Yeah.
One of the things, and I was kind of tickled to death. I got my little girl Red she's had a loose tooth for several weeks now, and I was pretty confident she would lose that tooth while I was gone. And so anyway, on the way home, I talked to her yesterday, and just liked a few hours getting home or whatever. And she said she brought up her loose tooth, And I said, well, you want Papa to help you get it out when we get home? She said, yeah, you going to get it out for me? I said, oh, yeah, we'll get it out. So we got home, and we worked on it a little bit, and I kind of got tired of messing with it, and I just reached in there and grabbed it and pulled it out. And she's sitting there, and I could feel it in my fingers. And I said, what do you think? She didn't know it was even out. So she, I was anxious to get home, when she told me she hadn't lost her tooth. And so Tooth Fairy got to come see her last night. So that was kind of
yeah.
cool.
I mean, 2 weeks is a long time. And it's not really 2 weeks. It's more than that, because that's not even counting your drive out there,
That's
drive
it.
back.
I was gone over 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's, GPS puts that at 28-hour drive. Now I drive faster than that, but I'm not interested in driving 16, 17, 18-hour days. I'm just not interested in doing it. So it's a minimum 3 days there, minimum 3 days back, plus the 2 weeks you're there. So you're gone every bit of 3 weeks.
Oh yeah.
So I didn't mind being out in less than comfort, but I like my recliner and my bed.
Sure.
At home.
So the first day of elk, you passed on what'd you say, a 5x5?
Yeah, passed on a 5x5. I've never been on an elk hunt. There were a number of people who weren't sure I made the right decision, but it never even crossed my mind that he was what I wanted. Mm-hmm. I never even picked up my bow. My bow was sitting beside me, and instead of picking up the bow, I picked up my phone and started recording him. It was neat. That's the first time other than Yellowstone, where it's basically, Yellowstone's a zoo. Let's face it.
First time you had your weapon in your hand that you could have done something and chose
That's
not
right.
to.
Yeah. It's it was a neat experience, but he just wasn't what I was looking for. It was yes, it was a 5x5, but he was just too small, in my opinion. And when I can think of deer that are hanging on Buddy's walls that score more inches than this elk did.
Yeah, but not only that, it was the first day.
It was the first day. That's right. Yeah. So the hope is, well, hey, I saw a nice 5x5 first day. Mm-hmm. So now had that elk slipped up a 4 or 5, I may have made the wrong decision and shot him.
Yeah.
Well, but I saw more elk, throughout the week, but just nothing came, into range.
Yeah.
So it's part of it. That's why they call it hunting. You're going hunting, not killing.
Yeah. Which you had some excitement. What's your last day?
Yeah, I mean, I've sent you videos. I sent a bunch of different people videos. The last couple of days, I was on a group of elk that was 150 elk in it. Uh-huh. With multiple bulls in it, and there definite shooter bulls in there, and so but no matter how good of a plan you can put together to kill an animal, let's face it, they're wild animals and they have a mind of their own.
They got a different plan.
That's right. And so we thought for certain, especially the very last day, Friday. We thought for certain Friday night when we figured out where they were. So the guy that I hunted with, he's got a couple younger guys that guide for him. And I was talking to one of them, and he said, if they went in that canyon, he said, I know exactly where they're setting, and I know exactly where they're going. Mm-hmm. And so sure enough, he came out there, and we got the spotting scope up, and they were exactly where he said they were. And so he said, they're going to bed down right there. And he said, when they leave, they're going to walk right toward where you're going to be. And he said they'll either go to the right or the left off this ridge. And he said, whichever way the lead cow goes, he said, that'll be the herd cow. He said, every one of them will follow. And so I hiked up there, and I mean, it was a couple miles of a hike, straight up a mountain. Mm-hmm. And then I weaseled my way and had to do some crawling and getting around, to keep from getting seen. And I found a good spot to hide in some trees. And I sat there for hours waiting on them to get up. And when they finally got up, they did right the opposite. They didn't even think about coming toward me. They turned around and they went further up the mountain all the way to the top.
Yeah.
And so I just sat there and videoed them and watched them
Right.
walk out of this year's hunt anyway.
You're talking about going back again? Would it be Idaho?
I mean, so nothing against Idaho at all.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so here's the thing. You know, that there's only a handful of states that you can go out west if you chose to do so every single year and hunt.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah,
because
so,
a lot of them are point systems. So
That's right. You take Montana where you're going. It's quite easy to get points. I think.
Okay, you can buy points.
That's right.
But the problem is you've got to have 3 points.
Yeah.
So if you say you want to do a DIY hunt,
That's right.
it's going to take you 3 years.
Well, yeah.
Because you can only get a point a year.
That's
but
right.
now, if you choose to go through a guide service,
They can give you a point.
they can give you a point.
Yeah.
So it'll take you 2 years.
That's right. Now you compare that, in 3 years is not terrible, especially when you compare it to someplace like Arizona.
Well, and let's back up for a second. It all depends on what it is you're going to do. If you're going to hunt through a guide service and you're paying big money,
Yeah.
okay, that can get expensive.
Oh, sure.
But now, if you're going to do it every 3 years and you're going to DIY it with the point system in Montana, it's a cheaper hunt.
Sure. You take a place like Arizona, and now, don't get me wrong, you could get lucky and draw your very first year.
Right.
But it is 100% draw. Now, the way that and I'm sure there's a little bit more to it, but this is the gist of it because I did some research on it myself just yesterday. Arizona is the number one state in our country for hunting big elk, bar none. If you want big elk, I'm talking inch-wise.
That's what I was going to say.
Inch-wise, Arizona is it.
Because when I researched it, it's funny because all the states that hold elk, it's either you're going to hunt points or you hunt in body size.
That's right.
Because if you hunt body size, sometimes the points are not there.
That's right.
If you're hunting points, then the body size is not
That's
there.
right. If you're hunting inches, Arizona, nothing compares.
Yeah,
to
I should have
Arizona.
said inches. That's
Yeah.
right.
So that's where there it is. But the way that Arizona works is they have a preference point type system, and the more preference points you get, the odds are better for you to draw that year. But it's quite possible you could go 15, 20 years and never get drawn.
I read that.
And so that makes it. And not to mention, there's something that I saw on one of the hunt channels just yesterday, as a matter of fact, that there's something called no hunt fees for Arizona. But if you go through their normal process of doing it, and I've not looked into it enough, but if you go through their normal process, you have to buy your license, and then you can get a point. So you're spending $150, $60, whatever, $200 every single year.
Yeah.
To get that point that you may not be able to use.
Yeah. That's just.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
you spend $200 a year and you spend 20 years, you got $4,000 in a hunt before you ever get drawn.
Exactly.
I'm not doing that.
I wished I'd have researched it because I'm curious what number of hunters are in Arizona.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, because under that system, you'd think the numbers would be low.
Well, you'd think, but people just keep, because they're chasing those inches.
Well, that's what I say. So maybe that's why they have the herds they have. I don't know.
Maybe so. But that being said, Colorado, which is much easier to get I think you can actually buy over the counter in Colorado.
I looked it up. I don't remember.
I think it's Colorado. Colorado has the largest population of elk in the country.
I think Colorado, if I read it correctly, is one of the hardest to hunt.
Well, and I could probably see that.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
So, each of those states out there has a different rule. And it's not like deer hunting here in the even the Midwest. You go buy a tag for an elk in Idaho. That tag is good for this unit.
Yeah. Yeah,
I can't, if I have bad luck in this unit, I can't jump over the mountain and hunt this side. You can't do that.
I saw that. It's I don't know. There's just a lot.
You get a license.
You have to, over time, you have to have an understanding of what units are what.
That's right.
What units hold what.
That's it.
And I think there's a website you can go to that tells you unit populations.
Well, probably so. And another good thing, if you're wanting to know more about where units are and what they are, a good app is Onyx Hunt.
Now that I say that, I think you can also see where guides are. So you would know ahead of time, hey, if a guide is in unit 16,
That's right.
then more than likely there's elk in the area.
That's right. A lot of those western states that we're talking about, Montana, Colorado, Wyoming, all those, they have units. Now, I don't know exactly how each of these states do. I am very familiar with how Idaho does because I learned about it last year when I went on the mountain lion hunt.
Yeah.
But, all of those states have vast amounts of public land. Vast amounts of public land. And so what happens is, at least in Idaho, is they'll have a unit. This particular unit I was hunting was Unit 51. Give or take, it's 400,000 acres, 400,000 or 500,000 acres. And so the outfitter that I hunted with, Little Lost Outfitters, Corey Daly is his name. So he is allowed by the state. Now he has to pay money, of course, but the state, the National Forest and BLM land allow him to run a guide service in that unit.
Yeah.
Now that unit is still open to the public. So a perfect example would be if I chose to do so, which I would not because in my opinion it's not ethical. Next year I could go ahead and apply for an elk tag, and most likely I'll get it, and I could apply for Unit 51, and I could go out there and I could hunt Unit 51 on my own without paying him. I personally would not do that. I don't think that's right because I've paid him to show me places.
People do it all the time.
People do it all the time. It's just not the way that I would do things. Now, that being said, I'd go to the unit right next door, to him, and I'd do that in a heartbeat. But a guide who's been out there for 22 years hasn't shown me where to go and what to do and how to get into certain areas that are in that unit. And that's one of the reasons why. That's one of the reasons why when I went out there, I was out there the first week of elk season, and the very first day, actually, the day I saw the 5x5, technically the second day. The first day I had gone to a place while he was getting some things together that we had seen some elk in the previous weeks. But the reason where we went was 3 miles up the mountain. We hiked and hiked and hiked. The majority of public hunters, DIY hunters, the majority are not going to do that. So one of the
they're going as short a distance as possible.
That's right. Yeah. So and as the season goes on, the behavior of animals, whether it's elk or antelope or anything else for that matter, deer, as the season goes, their behavior changes. And so, knowing what to do today versus what you did yesterday, that's where experience comes in.
Yeah.
So now I would feel a whole lot more comfortable about going and doing a DIY hunt for elk now that I've done one that I've never had interest in doing before. So I'm by no means an expert after a week, but at least you have a better idea.
Yeah, you got a lot more insight today than you did yesterday.
That's right. So, but yeah, it's like I say, I will go back to do other things out there, and I have no objection to going to where I was at. It's not a terribly expensive elk hunt by any means. They got a nice cabin. They got food. They prepare the food and everything else. So everything's taken care of, other than my hiking. So and my accuracy.
Maybe that'll change over time.
Yeah, maybe so.
Maybe so.
Maybe I'll get better.
A little more practice.
That's right.
A little more bow practice, a little more cardio practice,
and a little less picky, maybe.
Well, we're paying the money to go do this, so I always say kill what makes you happy because
that's it.
Ultimately in the end, you're the one that paid for it, and you've got to look at it every day.
Yeah, I'm not. I've never to buddies that's one thing. But I'm not about shaming somebody for what they think is a trophy.
Yeah.
I'll hack on my buddies because why not?
Yeah.
But if someone goes out there, as a matter of fact, there was a group of guys that came out they arrived on Thursday. Their hunt was not supposed to start on Saturday, which is when they started, and I left there Saturday morning. And I got a text message from one of the guides later that night that one of their guys had already tagged out. He shot a spike. Now listen, that for him, that must have been a trophy, and I'm tickled to death for him. That was not what I was out there for. As a matter of fact, I passed on the 5x5. They thought I was crazy. But this guy, I don't know what their hunting experience or anything else is. If that's what made him happy and he's tickled to death with, man, I'm happy for him.
Sure. Oh yeah.
So that's just the way I am.
Yeah, exactly. So you never fully answered my question. Would Idaho be where you go back to, or are you thinking about something else?
I don't know.
Okay.
And it's not because I have an objection to hunting Idaho.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just curious if you wanted to experience something different. I didn't know.
Yeah, it's I've got a bucket list of animals I want to kill.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily matter where I kill it at. I don't care. Elk is a bucket list item. Mule deer. My probably one of my big bucket list items is going to be a brown bear. Now there's a whole lot less options on that. That's going to be Alaska.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. But I've got these bucket lists, and some of them I may be able to achieve. Some of them I may not. So
you've killed a bear. What was it?
I killed a black bear.
A black bear. Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
So and it was a great black bear. And I enjoyed that hunt. I killed that in Alberta, Canada, back in 2010, 11, I guess it was. So I have killed a bear, but now I want a big bear.
Yeah, well, that's big money.
It is.
That's a big trip.
It's a big trip.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I mean, we're going on a gun hunt. I think we're going to be there at a great time.
Oh, absolutely.
I may not get to hear bugling. I don't know. It'll be iffy.
Yeah.
I would love to, because I think that's got to make the hair stand up on your back.
But even if you don't hear a bugle,
yeah,
if you spook one and they see you, they will bark at you, and even that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a different world out there.
Oh, it is, and you and I both have heard bugling on TV and this, that, and the other.
Yeah,
and it's really neat. I would have never thought that an elk bugling was as loud is what it is, and I base that off of just what I heard from that 5x5 barking. That's what they call it. Yeah. I don't know. Other people may give it a different term, but basically, he said that's the same thing as a deer blowing.
Which now you were there, probably 2 weeks early
for the rut.
That's
right.
So if you did it again, if you went next year after, whatever it is, would you try to choose the rut this time?
I would choose what I call pre-rut. I would probably I don't know that I want to be there right in the middle of rut, because you're going to be fighting you're going to be fighting to pull them away from a cow.
Gotcha. Well, I didn't think about that.
Rut is typically out west the end of September. I would probably go the second into the third week of September is what I would do. Another week and a half after I went this time.
Right.
That's when you're going to hear more of that bugling, and it's going to be easier, not easy, but easier to pull them away from where they're at.
Yeah. I've watched a few videos, and they were bow hunting videos, but dude, I don't know whether it was pre-rut, but it was either pre-rut or rut.
Yeah.
Pure excitement. I'm talking about dude got a 40-yard shot. Thing was bugling coming up that mountain.
Yep.
He topped that mountain. It's almost like he was crazy.
Oh, sure.
Like the dude was standing in the wide open with his bow already drawn, and he didn't even know what he was looking at.
So I left on, again, Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday morning, those guys went out to hunt. And so I think a couple of them, they said every now and again, early season, the earlier, as the season goes, it's easier to do a little bit of calling, and a lot of them will do cow calling in the early season. Yeah. So I guess one of the guides did a little bit of calling, and I don't know if he bugled or if he used the cow call. But these guys had a couple elk come within 10 yards of them.
Wow.
and one of them snuck up on one of the guys. There were 3 guys out there. One of them snuck up on one of them and didn't realize he was there, and then the elk ended up seeing him and spooked off. So
Wow.
they was able to do that. But yeah, I've seen them. What the guide, the guide, he's got one guide that comes in for 2 or 3 weeks every elk season just to help out because they got a lot more clients. And so I was talking to him about it. He said basically, the best way I can describe it, he said, when you hear an elk bugling, he said, you want to bugle louder and over the top of them. And he said, that's basically you giving them the FU button. And he says, then if they try to bugle again and you go over the top of them again, it's just like interrupting somebody.
Yeah.
It's the rudest thing you can do to somebody, and it pisses them off, and they're going to come in to solve the situation.
Yeah.
Is what it boils down to. And so that's how he described it. Who am I to deny it? This is my first elk trip, so it sounded good to me. So you need to give them the big FU and get them to come in and take care of business. That's it.
And hopefully it's a big boy coming in and take care of business.
That's it.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yep.
Well, like I said, I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, and I'm looking forward for you. I hope you get you one.
Me too. We're a couple of us going out there, and hopefully both of us are successful. But and maybe so. We're out there a week, but
the good thing about gun hunting is you have the probability of more opportunities.
That's right.
So with a bow, your opportunities are limited.
You're limited. I know the guy had told me. I asked him. I said, how efficient do I need to be? He said, you need to at least 300 yards. You need to be efficient.
That's right.
Well, I can do that.
And what I noticed about, especially on this hunt, the elk versus the antelope is you can get within a few hundred yards of the elk, and they're not going to take off immediately.
Yeah.
You get within a half a mile of an antelope, and they're gone.
Oh, yeah.
They're gone. Now, you can drive by them. Driving doesn't seem to faze them. But you stop that vehicle and open that door, they're gone.
They're gone. They're gone. Yeah, so.
Listen, it's a lot of fun. I loved it. Missed my wife and my little girl, but not so much my boys. I don't see them much anymore anyway. But
they ain't got time for you.
Nah. But it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, and I'm anxious to go back again. Try again.
Yeah. It sounds like
and do some things differently.
Yeah. Well, isn't that always the case?
Well, that's it. You do. When I started deer hunting, I do things a whole lot differently now than I did when I started deer hunting. And the same thing will be even with a guide. You learn some things. One of the things that I learned, and you're going to have the opportunity to probably use it before I really do, is when I went out there. I've got a decent pair of binoculars, decent for what we do for deer hunting.
Yeah.
I've already bought and may not even use it for a whole year, but I've got a nice spotting scope now. It's supposed to be arriving at the house today, and you're welcome to take it with you.
What makes me nervous?
wish I had a spotting scope, because these guys would be out there or whatever else, and I'm looking through my binoculars, and I see a black dot that looks like an ant on a big screen TV, and they're counting the points, And so, I would.
Made you feel left out.
Oh, absolutely. And they'd let me look at it, but my old Eisenhower's good, so I went, spent a little extra money and got something where I can pop my phone on there. That way, there's zero eye strain, and I can see everything that I'm looking for.
Those are nice.
Oh, absolutely.
Those are nice.
So it's I will never, ever go out west on a hunt without a spot scope.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Sounds like you're prepping to do it again. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought stuff on the way home after the hunt was over in preparation for the next hunt.
There you go. That's what we do.
That's it.
That's what we do.
So.
All right, man.
And good shoes. Man, make sure you got good shoes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Jeez.
It helps out.
Oh, it sure does.
I looked at a lot of forums before I bought mine, but anyways.
What'd you end up with?
Irish setters. They were in the top 5.
Oh, okay.
They were in the top 5. That's what I ended up with.
Oh, very good. I bought a pair of Crispies.
Oh yeah. They're up on top 5. They're top 2 probably.
Yeah.
Hey, only the best for you, man.
Well, listen, we ain't
Getting no younger.
That's it.
All right, we're gonna get off here.
Enjoyed it.
I appreciate you coming and talking with us about the construction world. Excited
Absolutely.
about the hunt, all that good stuff.
Yep.
Maybe you get to come back sometime and sit and talk. But appreciate folks tuning in, listening. Hey, like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, peace out.
Peace.